So this field So it's a very warm welcome to the 39th edition of the ever-popular Zurich-Seville Marathon, where the elites and masses battle over 42.2 kilometers, 26.2 miles on the flattest and fastest marathons in the world. It is a usual perfect weather here for February in the idyllic and beautiful surroundings of the wonderful city and region of Spain. I'm delighted that myself, James C, is joined by someone alongside me known very well by the Spanish marathon media, the fans and organisers, having won the World Cup Marathon in San Sebastian in 1993, Richard Nahuerca. Welcome alongside me, Richard, here in Seville.
José Enrique y Chao, por favor, todos los atletas de élite que vayan compareciendo, que tenemos a muchos calentando a las carpas de salida.
And celebrated today. He ran yesterday in the family 5K run. He's going to be running, I think, today with Martin Fitz over the first part of the course. And it is a fast course, isn't it, Richard? So this field itself has one of the largest elite mass fields to be assembled in what is an Olympic year. There was obviously Olympic standards up for grabs today, as well as a whole host of potential national records as well, which the event organisers will pride themselves on. But the milestones on the screen, the fast times that have been rapidly progressing here, and that course record 2:18:53 set 2 years ago is definitely under threat today.
El campeón y la campeona de España haciendo la mínima acreditativa tendrán la preselección asegurada, y los que estén en esas marcas en algún puesto de atrás pues probablemente también. Así que un añadido especial, ese campeonato de España en este maratón que ha crecido mucho en los últimos años. Tenemos a los dos últimos ganadores absolutos, los dos hombres que han corrido en 2:4 aquí con nosotros en Sevilla, luego hablaremos de ellos, van a estar en la lista de salida lo más adelante posible, y como decimos, esos ritmos previstos para correr en torno a 2:4 cabeza de carrera masculina, 2:19 cabeza de carrera femenina. Bienvenidos todos al Zurich Maratón de Sevilla.
Yeah, and the conditions here in February are absolutely perfect. That is a controllable here. It seems that athletes, the miles they put in, the kilometers into training, turning up and getting very good conditions is such a vital part of that. And waking up this morning and just seeing the lack of breeze, but got fairly warm yesterday afternoon. We expect the same to happen today, but for the elites out there, the 2 hours or so that they're going to be on the streets of Seville this morning. It should be absolutely perfect. Might warm up a little bit for the masses, the 12,000 record numbers here in Seville this year, in an event that is just set to keep continuing to grow. In the infrastructure here is absolutely phenomenal. And there is an overview of the course, Richard.
With the ceremony of the sideline, so please, all the runners to the boxes or the elite tents. Il est impératif maintenant, oui, on va demander aux élites, c'est le moment, nous devons commencer avec les cérémonies et nous allons demander à tous les coureurs de se placer ou à la tente élite ou dans leur box et
salida detrás en las carpas. Hassan, todos los atletas hay que estar detrás. Hamid, todos los atletas detrás, por favor. Por favor, atletas hay que pasar detrás del arco de salida a las carpas.
So there was a real appetite for fast marathons in Spain. This is one of the big 5 marathons in Spain, and it really does kick off a big year in 2024. Those Olympic Games in Paris in July and August. That'll be the aim of many of our elites. There's still places up for grabs. This includes, doesn't it, Richard, the Spanish National Championships, where those Olympic standards, but also there is a standard, isn't there, that the winner potentially in men and women could go into that team for Paris.
Bueno, vamos a pedir un poquito de atención a todo el mundo. Sabemos que evidentemente los 12.000 atletas que venís a correr, lo que estáis ahora con la tensión típica, con los nervios a flor de piel.
Ethiopians Azra Abdirahman and Gadisu Behanu actually won here last year, so those are 2 of the 3 Ethiopians who've gone under 2:05, and then you can just see the depth of that field. The Eritrean Okubai Sagai, he's going to be looking to set a new Eritrean record, currently stands at 2:04:35. He needs to improve by about a minute. And there are 2 of the British athletes in the field. Phil Sessamon back trying to get that qualifying time 2:08:10. Well, he was just over half a minute outside that when he ran in Valencia 2 months ago. But a very big field. There's the top Italian here today, Yamani Berhan Klipper, as James mentioned earlier. He is aiming for Olympic selection.
Yeah, Cripper, what a talent. 13:02 over 5,000 metres, 27:10, as well as decorated performances over cross country as well. But that personal best in Milan, 2:08:57, chatting to his manager yesterday, Gianni Domano. He had trouble, didn't he, in Milan with drinking far too much fluids, I think. So, and I think it'll be about less, so in memory of Kelvin Kiptum.
Quick look at the women's field. It's led by the Namibian Helena. She has a best time. She's the only athlete who's got a time of under 2:20.
Muchísimas gracias. Un aplauso grande en la memoria de Kelvin Kiptum.
So the organisers here recognising the very sad loss in the week of the world record holder Kelvin Kiptum. Jarvis Hamzame, his coach, also losing his life in that tragic road accident in Kenya. So our thoughts are with his friends and family. Kelvin, what a talent. Myself and yourself, Richard, we got to commentate on his phenomenal debut in Valencia. That fastest debut of 2:01, obviously winning London last year as well, and then going on to break the world record in Chicago. And again, what a loss. Kelvin Kiptum at just the age of 24. So again, very sad loss. So I'm sure the Kenyans out there today will want to run a very strong marathon in his memory. As the women's fields are on the screen in front of us, there's a few Brits on that screen that aren't running today. Natasha Cochran out with a knee injury, you believe, and as well as a couple of others are fast runners that are not towing the line today, Richard.
Yeah, both Callie Thackeray and Rose Harvey, whose names are on the screen there, they're not here. I think they are hoping that they might get, or at least be considered in the first round of selection for the British Olympic marathon team. That first round of selection actually taking place tomorrow. Callie Thackeray at the moment is the top of the list. There's the Italian, sorry, the Israeli national record holder. Got a time of 2:05:33, which he set here in Seville a year ago. He was fourth here last year, and I'm sure he'll be up at the front of the race.
Yeah, he's another one with his eye on the national record, that 2:05. That is still pretty fresh, and you can see the alignment of the masses behind. So those elites on the front row, what they've classed as sub-elites just behind them, some of those are inside 2 hours and 10 minutes. So that's the quality here in Seville. And then the different waves, the masses behind, that will have their eyes on their own personal best, their own battles.
So there's last year's winner, Gadisu Berhanu, 2:04:59. So he was about 17 seconds shy of the course record set by his compatriot Azra Abdirahim when he won 2 years ago. See some of the other strong club runners lining up behind the elite. Not the biggest field overall, just 12,000 participants, and roughly half of those 12,000 have come from outside Spain. So great for the local economy to be hosting so many international runners here this weekend.
So welcome if you're joining us from around the world, around Europe. So many different platforms, so many different streaming services. Join us for the 39th edition of the ever popular Zurich Seville Marathon, on the flattest and one of the fastest marathon courses in Europe. So we're blessed with very good conditions as always for February here. A beautiful part of Spain, wonderful city, and the
athlete Morhad Amduini. He'll be chasing the French record, but we've calculated about a dozen records being chased: Eritrea, France, Israel, South Africa, Chile, Cape Verde, Ecuador, Argentina. Even we might see an Italian record, Yamani Berhan Clipper.
So the first event, that's the elite wheelchair athletes that are on their way. Just a few minutes before the elites and mass field follow suit. So you can see a few nervous faces, a few excited faces as well. One of the most interesting things today will be the water and drink stations, Richard, given the sheer masses. Going to the technical meeting last night, the design, and they even had to be 2 technical meetings given the number of elite runners.
10 seconds.
So 10 seconds away from the start. I think there's a 1 minute gap between the wheelchairs and the able-bodied.
So there we go, the start of the Zurich Seville Marathon 2024. 42.2 kilometers, 26.2 miles on this one of the fastest courses in Europe and the world, the flattest course in Europe. And conditions are playing ball, and you can just see the masses, as Richard said. Record numbers, 12,000 runners. It's sold out very quickly. So if you are looking to get involved in the 2025 edition, you're going to have to be as quick as our elites are out there right now. You'll see the pacemakers at the front. They're in those red and green split singlets. They're going to have a really important job in the opening kilometers, and the expectation that they're going to go as far as around about 30 kilometers. The likes of Evans, Kiptego, Yago, Douglas Chebet and Chariot, just to name but a few of the paces that are going to be up there. So Richard, the paces are just in most of the main marathons are just so vital, aren't they?
Very important. They've actually got 3 sets of paces for both men's and women's races, so around a dozen pacemakers, mainly male, for both races. But in the men's race, right at the front of the race, they're targeting the course record, 2:04.42. So they'll be hoping to go through halfway at around that 62:10. That's a pace of around 2 minutes 56 per kilometre. And at the front of the women's race, they're aiming for a sub 2:20 time, so going through halfway in around 69:40, 69:50, so that's 3:19 minutes per kilometre. And James, as you say, that we'll be able to hopefully spot the pacemakers right through the field, well, at the front of the race, but not immediately, obviously, because they're wearing those red and green singlets. Beautiful view there down the banks of the Guadalquivir, which has played a very important part in the history of the city, going back 500 years when Seville was considered really the commercial centre of the country, as they brought all the gold in from the Americas. It came up the river, and the runners in a few minutes time actually will pass one of the most famous monuments in the city, the Tower of Gold, the Torre del Oro, which was where they brought a lot of the booty brought in from the Americas.
Yeah, lots of history here in Seville. I'm sure the runners themselves would love to find their pots of gold today. So lots of training's gone in over the last few months, over probably a busy Christmas period, and looking to make sure they reap the rewards of that today. So a real buzz in the city yesterday, as you said, Richard. It's 47% of the field are internationals, so people travel far and wide to be here. And the atmosphere for the breakfast 5K yesterday in Maria Lucia Park was really busy, and it really does kind of create a festival atmosphere here over this weekend in Seville. Very accessible city, beautiful city when you walk around. Very easy to get round on foot, or the different electric vehicles that are on offer as well, or you can also jump for a horseback ride as well, or the carriages, different carriages that are going around the city as well. So lots of runners starting their watches. There is a tracking system as well for those that are tracking different runners. I know different people have different people that are out here, whether they're your club runners or whether they're some of the elites chasing those qualifying times. So welcome, whether you're joining us around Europe and the world. We're delighted to be on so many different platforms. And again, showcasing the Zurich Seville Marathon to a wide audience. This flat and fast course that's rapidly growing in stature as well. And the numbers are expected to continue to grow. The different people that have played their part over the number of years. This is the 39th edition. And the first view of the elites into 5 minutes of running. So getting towards the second kilometre already. And the two pacers that take their place at the front. And they're going to be looking for around about that 2:56 per kilometre pace, which would bring them through around about that 62-minute mark. And the organisers would love to see the course record broken today.
Yeah, the organisers make a lot of the fact that this is the flattest marathon course in Europe. There's Yamani Kripa running his second marathon here today. Debuted in Milan last year. And back at the front, the two Kenyans, Vincent Kipkorir Keegan and Edmund Chariot, being tasked with taking them through the first 5 kilometres in 14 minutes and 40 seconds. That's 2:56 minutes per kilometre. Another beautiful view heading west down the Guadalquivir, and in a few kilometres time, just past the 4 kilometre point, they'll cross over. They cross 2 bridges, first the Puente de la Barqueta to take them onto the island, and then they'll come back onto the east side of the city, which is where most of the city is situated. They go over the Puente de los Remedios, just shy of the 12 kilometre point. You can see some of the beautiful buildings of the city.
Yeah, very few skyscrapers. There's just one, I think, that was pointed out to us. One of the tallest buildings is the Seville Cathedral, the burial place of Christopher Columbus, who was instrumental in that rise of Seville, and the beautiful surroundings there. Look at that, Richard.
I think this actual stretch of road is called the Paseo de Cristobal Colón. It's actually the same road that they started on, but the street section, the name has changed from the Paseo de las Delicias to the Cristobal Colón. As you say, James, a very important and famous name attached to this city. But just coming back to the world of marathon running, Abel Anton, the great Spanish runner who's here today. He is so well known in Seville because of his victory here 25 years ago, and the medals that all the runners will receive today are inscribed with his name and a picture of him raising his arms when he won that great world title 25 years ago. Actually a slightly different course, being the World Championships 25 years ago. The race finished in the Olympic Stadium, one of the 3 big stadia in the city, the other 2 being the 2 football stadia, but the Olympic Stadium in the west part of the city around, actually I think it's the district called Cartuja.
Yeah, hard to believe it's 25 years ago since Abel's famous victory, and he's still very, very popular. They do love their marathon running in Spain, and the masses out there today will be delighted that Abel's joining them for the first 12 kilometres. I think you said his son's out there for the full race, whether he continues to give his son some encouragement. And as the field just settles in behind, you You can see 36, that is Vincent Keegan. He knows these streets well. He ran sub 60 minutes in the Seville half marathon back in January, and that's the quality of pacemaker you need. You need someone that can operate with enough ease through these opening kilometers.
And here the top female athletes, again they've got their pacemaker. Silas Kipkoech Mitei has been tasked to take them through 69.40. That's Antonina Kwambai, the Kenyan, on the right of the screen in the white vest. She's got a best time of 2:23.20. So hoping to go a few minutes faster than that. She's right at the front of that group of elite women. Also in the field today, a fast Ethiopian, Asmera Gabru, got a best time of 2:20.48.
There'll be some very good club runners around them as well. They know they're going to get some good pacing. So does a former international runner there. I think that's Jose Blanco, who I think was, with his peroxide blonde hair, was a very good steeplechaser as well. So there'll be lots of runners out there today looking for fast times. They know that these elite women are going to be very well paced in the opening stages of the race. And then we really will see it start to develop as the race goes on. There's a Liverpool Harriers vest in the front of the screen there. There's a mid-pack shot. So pacemaking-wise, Richard, in the elite women. So we're looking obviously at that 2:18 course record, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the groups settle in this elite women's race.
So here are the leaders heading over the Puente de la Barqueta. Actually, this is very near to where many of the elite athletes are staying, which is where we were yesterday afternoon for the technical meeting. So they've just gone through 4 kilometers and they are coming across onto the island. It's a sort of newly developed place, part of the city where a lot of the new startup companies are now based. There's a view across to very near to where the elite athlete hotel is. They'll turn right as they come over the bridge and go past the elite athlete hotel.
Yeah, many of the elites last night were just getting their last-minute preparations, the drinks that needed to be dropped off. That's such a vital part, and given that there's so many elites, there's such a long length of tables and the direction of the elites, that's going to be an important part to get their fluids on board. It's not just water, it's different solutions of carbohydrates and sort of different mixes of energy that they need to get on board regarding the distances that they cover. And they will want their own personalised drinks, and often they're attached with gels as well. So that is going to be an important factor today. There was a little bit of tactics involved in positioning and making sure that they do navigate themselves over to the table, and they do find their own drink on there as well. So
I think that's exactly what's happening now. They've got one eye on the fact that they are probably just 100 metres away from that first drink station at around the 5 kilometre point. That's why we're seeing a little bit of acceleration from, I think that's the Eritrean athlete, Akabai Sagai, who's moved across. Here are the tables, 20 tables, I think, for both men and 20 tables for the women and the elite athletes. Trying to find their bottles at this first station.
Well, remembering what side of the road they're on as well, because I think a little look, they saw the table on the left-hand side. The men are on the right, and I think the elite women are on that left-hand side, aren't they?
That's right. And last year's winner, Gadisu Behanu, it looks as though he's gone right through without bothering to take his first bottle, which may not be the best thing to do, but that's what he's chosen to do. And here are the women, or certainly one of the women. They are probably just shy of that 5 kilometre point, just under 15 minutes of running into the race.
Yeah, they're just trying to be conserving energy early on and making sure that they do navigate their way to that first drink station, which is made more difficult, obviously, with the sheer numbers of the club runners and the athletes around them that won't have access to those elite drinks tables. So they're going to have to make sure that they do cite them. And it is about a little bit of communication in that pack as well. These are 2 pacemakers on the front. They've done a good job in these early stages, but expected to go to 30 kilometres, so still lots of running for Chariot, for Keegan at the front of the early stages of the Zurich Seville Marathon 2024. Again, welcome if you're joining us from around Europe, around the world. This is a very fast marathon, and we're looking for course records in the men and women, as well as those Olympic standards. So for Paris, 2:08:10 for men, 2:26:50 for women. And the first Spanish athlete across the line today, if they're inside 2:09:40 for men and 2:28 for women, they could book themselves in that team for Paris.
Yes, being the Spanish Marathon Championship, the first placed Spanish athlete in both men's and women's races, provided that they've got the times set by the Spanish Athletics Federation, they will automatically get a place on the Olympic marathon team for Paris. There's Gadisu Behanu, last year's winner, 31 years of age, has also won a marathon in Montreal 2 years ago, ran 2:09:25 there, and then improved considerably his best time when he won in Seville last year. He won in 2:04:59.
So the opening 5 kilometres, 14:32. So it is quick up front at the moment. That's a fraction inside what was expected. That's operating around about 2:54. So it's a really good start, and you can just see the strength of that pack that's gone with that. And the look down the list, Cribber's gone through in 14:50, so we're just at the back of that group. So he's operating around 2:58, and the Brits coming through. I can see Phil Seseman and Johnny Mellor tucked right in that 2:08 Olympic group, having passed the 5 kilometres in a shade inside 15:10. So it's a good start at the moment for the front of the group, and also that Olympic qualifying group as well. And their little shot of the carbon and foam shoes that have changed the landscape, alongside nutrition and also the footwear that's probably enabled even more kilometres and training volume to go in, Richard. So there's definitely, hasn't there been a shift in marathon times over the last few years?
Well, I mean, here in Seville, the course record 2:04:42, as we were saying 10 years ago, course record was 2:08:33. That just gives you a sign of how things have moved on in the last 10 years. Here's the front of the women's race. That's Antonina Kwambai, Kenyan athlete.
They're Kwambai 2:23:20 from Toronto. back in 2022.
Just behind Kwambai is the Namibian athlete Helalia Johannes. She's got the best time, 2:19.52 from just over 3 years ago in Valencia. So she's the fastest on paper today. I think there's about 4 or 5 women who've gone off with the Pacemaker, Silas Kipkoech, at the front of the women's race. We're now back at the front of the men's race. A much bigger group of, seems to be Kenyan, Ethiopian, Eritrean athletes. I think there's also the French athlete up there, Morhad Amduini, and the Israeli athlete Gashau Ayelli. And this is, they're going through 7 kilometres, and although their special drink stations are at 5, 10, 15 every 5 kilometres in the places in between, so roughly 7.5 kilometres, and then 5 kilometres further down they've got water and isotonic drinks.
Yeah, it will be about taking on as many fluids smartly as possible as we see them go through these early stages. They won't necessarily be feeling like they need to take on too much, but it will warm up slightly here. It was cool this morning, but expect a little rise in temperature as the next hour or so goes on. Just before the start of the race, the sun was still just coming up, so there will be a slight rise in temperature. And you can see just a couple of athletes dropping off this lead group at the moment, and seemingly trying to get back. That could have been taken advantage of a drink station, or the confusion at the drink station. But are still the 2 pacers looking very comfortable at the front. And that opening exchange means we are setting this race up very nicely in these early stages. So expect the pace to settle down somewhat over the next few kilometres.
Well, this is where it becomes quite hard if you get dropped from that group. There's a group of about a dozen athletes who are behind the 2 pacemakers, and we actually expected that the bigger group of athletes will be with the pacemakers, who are aiming for that to go under the Olympic qualifying time, 2:08.10. The front of the race there operating at around the 2:04.30 pace, having gone through the first 5 kilometres in 14:38. There's Gadisu Bahanu, last year's winner, and we'll pick out some of the other athletes. The Eritrean athlete Okubai Sagai, also in the white vest, and the Ethiopian athlete Derese Galleta, who was 5th in the Dubai Marathon.
Yeah, Galleta, he's definitely someone to look out for. That depth on that Dubai Marathon that every year kind of kicks off, doesn't it, Richard, the world rankings. And that's definitely one thing that this year, I think the top 5 times in the men set in Dubai this year already. So you can see on the screen there, so 16:51. So a slightly conservative first 5 kilometre split. You can see that 38 seconds outside course record pace. But still very early stages in this elite women's race. It looks like maybe five or six athletes now settling into the pace being set by Kit Rotich there at the front. Very experienced athlete to set the early pace.
There's the stats for Antonina Kwambai, the Kenyan athlete. Personal best set in Toronto 18 months ago, 2:23.20. So starting out pretty conservatively, 38 seconds slower than course record pace, but with plenty of time to make up ground. So the athlete on the left of the screen, just behind the two pacemakers, as we mentioned, Galleta. I mentioned he finished 5th in Dubai. That was 13 months ago, not this year's Dubai Marathon, which happened just over a month ago. Coached by Haji Agilo, well-known Ethiopian coach, and he's hoping for great things from his athlete Deresa Galleta. 14 marathons behind him, actually won Lagos 2 years ago. Has the best time of 2 hours, 5 minutes and 51 seconds. So there's about 12 athletes, I think, who've gone off with those two pacemakers. There's the winner from 2 years ago, Azra Abdirahman, best time 2:04.43, so that's the course record here. And great that the organisers have managed to bring back the winners from both last year, Gadisu Bahanu, and from 2 years ago, Azra Abdirahman, both Ethiopians, trying to continue the Ethiopian dominance in the men's race.
Yeah, it is always something as a race organiser to try and bring back the defending champions as well as the course record holders where you can, to battle it out. There is something about experience on the course and knowing the different places to push. So just a little exchange, as they almost talking pre-drink station, and someone picking up a drink and putting it down again. Well, that might not be helpful for another runner behind. So yeah, a little bit of confusion again at drink station number 2, Richard.
I think it came just before the 10-kilometre point, because we're not yet at 28 minutes, and that 10-kilometre, well, the second drinks table is obviously a few hundred metres short of the exact 10-kilometre split point. We're back now at the front of the women's race. Be interesting to see whether they've caught up any of the pace aiming for that course record, 2:18.53, set here 2 years ago by Alamu Magetu. There's the Eritrean, Okubai Segai. Tall athlete in the white vest, in about 4th place behind the two pacemakers. There's about a dozen athletes there, and a couple already starting to drop off. I think they probably lost a bit of ground at that last drink station.
Yeah, we're seeing that little bit of disruption in there, and Segai, he's definitely someone to look out for. 2:05.20 in Berlin last year. So a great shot from the side. You can just see the pace, and there's just a couple of the national records, and Segai, who we just mentioned, operated inside his own national record. Amduini as well, the Frenchman, is again operating way inside his in that opening 5K, but they're not far. There you go, over 10 kilometers now. So around about 29:10. So I think they've maintained that 14.5 minute pace. through the opening 10 kilometers. So it is quick here, Richard, isn't it?
It is fast, and I think athletes in some ways have very little choice other than to stay with the group. I mean, we were talking to Phil Sessamon last night. He's targeting that 2:08.10 Olympic qualifying, and he's going to go with the third group that are setting off at around 63:40. But the fact is that if he's with a group of 20, 30 other athletes, it's much better being in a group than just running to your own time. Here are a few other athletes targeting national records. Gashar Ayelli, he himself holds the national record 2:05.33 that he set here last year, and Yamani Berhan Kripa 2:07.19 is the Italian record. That's just over, well, a minute and a half faster than the time he ran in his debut in Milan last spring.
And that time, if it is confirmed, around about the 29:10 mark, means they're operating at 2:03 pace, and the lower end of 2:03 as well. So it is very quick through the first 10 kilometers here.
A few of the other national records that are being chased. Carlos Martin Diaz from Chile. He's also under the national record actually set by his compatriot Hugo Catrillo in Houston just last month. He ran 2:08.44. So he's not on our screen. He'll be in that third group. But around a dozen athletes are hoping to set national records here. As we mentioned, around 15 national records have been set here in Seville over the last 2 years. So rather like Valencia, this is another marathon that prides itself on the large number of national records that are set every year.
It does, and many athletes backing up from Valencia. So enough recovery from early December, and then coming back out of a marathon block, and someone like Phil Sessamon, who you've already mentioned, doing that, and getting confirmation that that third group are right on pace at the moment on that Olympic qualifying. They've passed 10 kilometres in around about 30:10, 30:15 for majority of that field. Johnny Mellor still in there, the Irish interest. I think Fergal Curtin is also in that group as well. But looks like the second group are operating at that 62:30 halfway mark. They're running that consistent 2:58. Kripa is again right in that group, so he's right on that Italian record pace. So inside that at the moment, that stands at 2:07.19, and he's operating around about the 2:05 mark. So there's our elite women on the screen. You can see the masses there around them. There is strength in numbers as they go towards themselves the 10K split on the course.
Well, the pace at the front still very, very fast. That group is starting to split up a little bit. So behind the two pacemakers, the two Ethiopians, Gadisu Bahanu in the white vest and Derese Galleta in the blue and white vest. And behind them is the tall athlete. Well, there you get a good indication of just how fast they're running. 38 seconds under the course record pace. So 29:02 through 10 kilometres, a very fast opening section.
Yeah, it's even faster than I thought it might come up on the screen. So 29:02 is exactly 2:02.30 pace. So that's 2:54 kilometres that have been clipped off for the first 10 kilometres. So can't say they're not going for it. in the Zurich Seville Marathon 2024. If you're just waking up or you're joining us from around the world, around Europe, so again, welcome to the streets of Seville. The flattest marathon in Europe, one of the fastest marathons in the world, and look at that idyllic surroundings, beautiful city here, rich history, culture, the birthplace of tapas, as well as flamingo dancing as well, I think you said, Richard.
Yes, they've just gone through a district, the Barrio de Triana, which is the part of the city that has made this city well known for flamenco dancing, because in centuries gone by, that's where the gypsy community based themselves, and the athletes now turning back onto the Paseo de los Delicias, which is where the race started. So they've just gone through 12 kilometers, come over the Puente de los Remedios, and they're back now on this long straight that bring them back through past where we are sitting in the television area, right by the start and finish of the race. And they'll run down this section for another 4 or 5 kilometers before heading a little bit north and round to the halfway point around the Santa Justa train station. You can see there's about 11 athletes, I'm counting there, behind the 2 pacemakers, but operating at a very, very fast pace. 36 and 37 in the red and green vests, Vincent Kipkorea and Edmund Chariot. And behind them, this is the bigger group, also with the pacemaker Evans Kiptum at the front. Just saw Phil Sessamon go through there. So they're operating at around that 63.30, 63.40 for the first half, hoping to finish in under 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Yeah, and you're right, we had a good chat with Phil. He spent a good 5-6 weeks out in Kenya at high altitude, trying to double back from Valencia. Said it wasn't without a few little niggles and issues, but if you're covering 130 miles a week and the double training sessions that need to be done on multiple days, that it won't be without some little road bumps. But wouldn't it be great to see the Brit get inside that time, as there's the split, the 33.45, 10 kilometers, so a minute outside course record pace. So it would need a rapid acceleration into the second half if we are going to get a course record. But it is a really good race at the moment, because there is strong depth in that elite women's race, as they're 37 minutes in, so over 11 kilometers now past. There's great noise out on the course as the different sponsors and supporters with their different sections, so known for great fiestas here, and it is a big party here this weekend. So yesterday's family 5k breakfast run, lots of stuff going on, and there's a real kind of enjoyment of running. So many people were even out running this morning that were out in big groups getting their Sunday runs done, probably so they can stand on the course and cheer on their different teammates going over the full marathon distance today. So it's a really active city, very clean city as well. They pride themselves on a lot of solar power, but when you only get 80 days of rain a year, then and a lot of sunshine, then you can definitely do that. And there's the ball rink, I think, to the right-hand side of our runners. And they're still very much in the shade on the course, and that will be very much appreciated at the moment, Richard, won't it?
Yeah, it's near perfect conditions, but as you say, James, it's going to warm up as we go through the morning, and the parts of the course that are in the shade will be a little bit easier and a little bit cooler for them. This is back at the front of the women's race. They've just got one pacemaker, Silas Kipkoech.
to those tuning in and having obviously seen some of the reports and the potential for athletes to line the streets today. So a couple of Brits that aren't towing the line, looking for Olympic qualification. Callie Thackeray, Rose Harvey decided not to race today. So we're hoping for obviously Olympic selection. And that's always a thing, isn't it, Richard, of whether to stick or twist, to go again, because there is such a tight window. Some of these athletes have to get the qualifying times. And then also there's some very fast marathons coming up, aren't there, over the next few weeks and months. And whilst that window stays open, it's going to be very, very competitive as the season unfolds.
Yeah, I think this year with the Olympics, a lot of national federations are looking at the times more than people's positions in previous championship marathons. We were talking to Gianni Di Madonna, I think one of the top Italian athletes from the past 10 years, Daniel Mucci. He's here, and he had a very good run in the World Championships in Budapest last summer, but it looks as though the Italian Federation, like so many federations, when it comes to selection for Paris in a few months' time, they're going to be looking at times rather than performances in those previous championships. And yes, James, you were referring to the British athletes who are looking for a selection. I think on the women's side, both Callie and Rose Harvey, who had put their names down for this race, I think it was more insurance policy, because Callie and Rose, they've got the first and third spots just in terms of time, so they're in a good position with a good chance of making that team. First round of British selections taking place on Monday. Charlotte Purdue sitting in second place just based on time.
So just on the screen there, a couple of potential records. A Cadorian record potentially under threat in the elite women's race. And a great aerial shot there as we come along the riverbank here. And big numbers out already this morning on various points of the course. And doubling back, good spectator course as well. If you plan it right, it's about 7 different points. I think you can see your runners out there. So if you are coming out to support a group of runners or individuals, that it is a great city to come out and enjoy and spectate. And it is very friendly as well in terms of getting out and about around the city. So
max altitude reached.
It's still very calm, and the temperatures almost perfect for marathon racing this morning. The February weather is pretty consistent here in Seville, and it does take away one of those variables, those different things that runners sometimes can't control, but the course and the weather do seem to play ball here in Seville. So 43 minutes, so thinking that the athletes, I think, have gone through 15 kilometres. So wait for that split, Richard.
Nice shot there in the red vest of the course record holder, Azra Abdirahman. Won here 2 years ago. So they're the two past winners of this race. Gadisu Bahanu in the white vest and Azra Abdirahman in the red vest. They're right at the front of this group of around 12 athletes.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to see the shape marathon runners are in, because they race so sparingly, don't they, Richard, in terms of there's only a certain amount of marathons you can do per year, and even going through the amount of other races, other distances, they just don't over race, you know, a handful of races. So it's very difficult to know the form that runners come into each of these races at. And even themselves sometimes can be slightly unsure until they get through the first stages. But It is quick. The opening time slots indicated that we're way inside course record pace at the moment. Galleta there, wearing number 6, looking one of the better runners in terms of relaxation, almost not a bead of sweat on his head in the early part of this race. So 44 minutes in. And we're just waiting for that 15-kilometre split to come up. There it is, it come up as 43.45. So around about a 14.40 split. So marginally slower than the opening 2 splits, but it had to slow down at some point, Richard, didn't it?
Well, they're still operating at 2:55 pace. That 43.45 is bang on 2:55 minutes per kilometre. So they are operating at under course record pace. Very fast. We mentioned the Eritrean, Okobai Sagai. He's chasing a course record, Eritrean course record of 2:04.35. His own best time is 2:05.20, set in Berlin just 6 months ago. And here's the 15-kilometre point. Even one of the pacemakers slowing down considerably, trying to find his bottle. I think the pacemakers have been asked to go to 30 kilometres. In the orange vest, the French athlete Morhad Amduini. And there's the Israeli athlete Gashau Ayelli, finished 3rd in the European Championships marathon in Munich 2 years ago. And finished 4th here in Seville last year, so knows the course.
That was a great marathon, wasn't it? Richard Ringer coming down that home straight in Munich for the win. And interesting this year in the European Championships that it's a half marathon. It's not a full marathon, isn't it, in Rome in June. And that does mean some of these runners that, these Europeans that do qualify for Paris, that they've got the chance to go over a half marathon, which I think is a really good decision, isn't it? Rather than sort of dilute or try and ask runners to, they wouldn't obviously be able to double, but that's going to be a really interesting distance. So keep an eye on that, and love the split screen. So some great footage that we're getting here, and I hope you're enjoying it at home wherever you are. From the different networks picking this up. It's absolutely fantastic to showcase the Zurich Seville Marathon 2024. I think this might be one of the lowest points of the course, Richard.
Yeah, and this is the leading Spanish athlete, Fatima Oadu. She's got a best time 2:25.30. It's a really, really interesting Spanish race. We've got 3 athletes who are today racing and trying to actually get what will probably be the 3rd spot on the Spanish team, because 2 months ago in Valencia there was a new Spanish record set by Mayita Mayouf. She ran 2:21, so she's well ahead of the others. The second Spanish athlete who is not here today, Laura Luengo, she ran 2:25, but there were 3 other female Spaniards in today's race. They've all run under the Olympic qualifying time, and if they finish as the first Spanish female today, they will automatically get selected for Paris. So a lot at stake today for the athletes. Half an eye on finishing strongly and getting a podium place or winning a national championship title, but the other priority is to try and put themselves in strong position for Olympic marathon selection for their own country. Look at that, 38 seconds under 30.
Yeah, it's way inside, isn't it, Richard? 38 seconds, that confirmation of that 43.45, clocking through 15 kilometres 44.21 was when the record was set previously. And Fernal is in that group as well, the current Italian record holder, so he is operating way inside that as well in terms of that national record for Italy. So on the screen, Richard, a potential Argentinian record.
Yep, on the left there, Florencia Borelli, Italian name, but actually an Argentinian athlete. 2:26.54 is her best time. So she actually holds the Argentinian record. So she's one of the around a dozen athletes who are hoping to set a new national record at the marathon. And she's running alongside that, the Spanish athlete I mentioned, Fatima Oadu. And this is the front of the women's race. We can see 5 women who are immediately behind the Pacemaker.
Yeah, it's interesting, they've almost detached themselves from that mass group of very good club runners, just to maybe give themselves a little bit of space, a little bit of breathing room in relation to just seeing the road in front, but also the drink stations. So I think it can be a little bit intimidating, being almost swamped by runners. It can be needed sometimes for shelter, but given these almost ideal conditions, just not needed. So they're almost in single file now. Pacemaker's doing a great job, as they are at the front of the elite men's race, where they've been from the very beginning. And the pace is being set up here almost to perfection. Look at that, it is very quick. They did want this. There was a real desire, real challenge to get at the course record and the fastest time in the world. Adesso Gabana's time from Dubai, 2:05.01 is the fastest time in 2024 at the moment, and we are operating way inside that, and way inside a lot of national records at the moment in this lead group. But there's still a lot of running to go, Richard, isn't there?
Yeah, just to give you an example, on the far left of our screen is the Namibian athlete, Daniel Paulus, who's got a best time of 2:08.40. And James, as you were saying, they're running at this sort of very, very fast pace, around 2:04 finishing time. So Paulus, who is one of the athletes chasing a national record, one of the athletes looking to probably get a podium place, but he is running faster than he's ever run. But if you can stay with that group, certainly will benefit from being part of that group of around 12 athletes.
Yeah, and get an update on the 15 kilometres of that Olympic group. So Darry Griffiths, the Welshman, is in that group as well. They've gone through 15 kilometres in around about 45.30. So they are right bang on pace for 2:08, and just below that at the moment, Johnny Mellor in that group, Phil Sesman, Fergal Curtin. So there's really good kind of British and Irish contingent, as well as a whole host. I think it's around about 20 athletes at the moment going through in that third group. There's a few splinters on the road, so but in terms of pacing groups, we are operating around about the 2:02.30 mark at the front, and it looks around about the 2:04 being the second group, and then that 2:07.28 group being the Olympic chasing group. So the 3 pacing groups are definitely doing their jobs at the moment.
Yeah, there are so many battles within battles, aren't there, today? We mentioned that group of British athletes: Phil Sesman, Johnny Mellor, Dowie Griffiths, Tom Anderson, Luke Caldwell, Mohammed Odan. So 5 strong British athletes who are all in that group. On the Italian side, Yamani Berhan Crippa is the leading Italian athlete, but also running for Italy and hoping to get selection is the 38-year-old Daniel Mucci. He went through 15 kilometres also in that 208 group, 45.32 at 15 kilometres. That's why that group is just so big. That third group, I think, who are operating at 208 pace. So the front of the women's race, we've got the Ethiopian athlete Asmera Gabru.
Yeah, 2:20.48 from Amsterdam 5 years ago. So this would be her getting right back to form as the chase group behind in the elite women's. So there's a strong number of runners in that that chasing group. Chasing, I think it's 5 or 6 now that have pulled clear. Chepkoech is at the lead of that group. The 15-kilometre mark has come through, so they've come through in 50 minutes and 43 seconds. So continuing to maintain that 3:22 per kilometre. Which is a 2:22 pacing at the moment, so outside course record pace, but operating for some of these athletes right on personal best pace. It's back to the elite men's race at the front, the two pacers in those red and green vests. There's just a couple of athletes coming off that lead group now. You see the bike support just making sure that they are safe, and there's also one of our wheelchair athletes going through. So coming not far from the hour point, so a mile or so away from the halfway split.
Also, ought to mention the prize money up for grabs today, €15,000 for the winner, 7.5 second and €5,000 for third, and there's a course record bonus, €10,000 for both men and women.
Yeah, as part of the World Athletics Elite Label races and the infrastructure and quality of races. So given the sheer size of the number of elites, so a lot of the elites make sure they get themselves here because they just know it's such an important race, and the importance of getting fast times out. And just see a couple of athletes there that have come off that lead group, trying to get confirmation of who they are as the bike gives us an idea of that gap. And look, it is fairly significant now. It's the best part of 400-500 meters, I think, there before we even get back to the bike entourage as they weave in and out to get back to the lead group. That's a big gap, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah, it's quite hard for them, just two of them together. I think they might be able to help each other, but it's quite different to what the leaders are experiencing behind the two pacemakers, and they've got still around a dozen athletes all together there. Teresa Galleta on the right of the screen, one of the fancied athletes. Gadisu Bahanu in the white, who's been right there, right at the front of the group behind the two pacemakers.
Frederick Paulus, who you mentioned, the Namibian record holder on the left of that group in that orange singlet.
Just to get an impression of how fast they're going, that Eritrean that we mentioned, Okubai Sagai, well, he's still in that group, but he does look as though he's having to work quite hard, and it's not surprising. In fact, course record holder from 2 years ago, Azra Abdirahman, also looking as though there's a bit of strain on his face. In fact, I think a few meters may have opened up, and that's not at all surprising, just given how fast they're running. The two pacemakers still looking very good, still getting their instructions from one of the organisers on the motorbike, on the just off our screen.
Yeah, the two Kenyans doing a very good job in what's been a very sad week for distance running in Kenya. The sad loss of Kelvin Kiptum, the world record holder, his marathon world record from Chicago. The very sad loss also in the week of Henry Rono, one of the best ever runners to come out of the Rift Valley. That we were looking at it last night, weren't we, Richard? That few months that he had in 1978, where he was breaking world records for fun, and such a character, and such a phenomenal runner. So rest in peace, Kelvin Kiptum and Henry Rono. As the 20-kilometre split comes up on the screen, and you can see 58.35, so 40 seconds inside course record pace. So it slipped slightly from the very aggressive start to the race that we had, but we're still going at around 2:03.30 pace. So we're looking at a halfway point, probably around about the 61.45 mark.
And the French athlete, Mohamed Amduini, is still up there in the orange vest. 2:05.22 national record. And yep, as we thought, the course record holder, the winner from 2 years ago, Azra Amdi Rahman. Well, I was in Ethiopia, James, just a few days ago, and I did hear that he'd been having a few injury problems in the build-up to this race. And I don't know whether it's his injury problems or just the fact that they are running so fast. But this is going to be a very tough battle for him, as the leaders going through the arch at halfway. Look how fast that is. Under 62 minutes. So well inside course record pace for the first half distance.
It is, and such a big group as well. Every single one of these athletes operating at inside 2:04 pace. And as you said, the course record holder is finding it tough, but have a look at his watch and maybe take some solace in the fact that he's operating still at 2:04 pace himself. And there you go, confirmation of that halfway split, 61.49. So when the course record was set here 2 years ago by the athlete that was just on screen, it was 62.31, so 42 seconds inside that. And you can see after that very fast opening 5 and 10 kilometre splits that it has settled, but still getting a few seconds here and there inside that course record. So pacemakers have a really important next 10 kilometres. They can get these athletes to 30 kilometres, and in the numbers that we've got on the screen at the moment, then we could see some very, very special times. And the chasing groups behind, we're waiting for their halfway splits. The athletes that have been putting around about 15:10 per kilometres, that's the Olympic chase group. They maintain that to 20 kilometres, and so they're going to be right around that 63 high to 64 minute low mark, which they wanted for that Olympic qualification.
Well, the organisers will be delighted at how this race has opened up. I mean, the course record at this race has just been falling down almost every year. 2011, 2:09.53. 2014, it was 2:08.33. 5 years ago 2:06.36, and then 2 years ago 2:04.43. So every year it seems this race gets faster and faster. These are the women chasing the course record set 2 years ago, 2:18.53. I mean, we're always talking, James, aren't we, about times, course records. Of course, the athletes also hoping to build their reputation by winning big city marathons, and Seville is certainly moving into that league where people will be looking very closely at the results, even more so this year because of its significance for selection for so many national federations.
Yeah, and that Olympic chasing group, so they've gone through in just inside 64 minutes, so and it's a very big group as well. As the split screen just showing the chasing group, showing our leaders in this elite women's race as they've gone through 65 minutes of running, so around about a mile or so away from their halfway split. And again, seem to be maintaining that 3:22 rhythm per kilometre. A slight lean forward of the pacer, who looks very controlled, and the luxury that the elite women have of the male pacers. And as I said, it can be a help and a hindrance having the masses of club runners around them as well. You can see the club runners are often gravitate knowing the elite women will get certain pacemakers, and the help that can have to some very good club runners.
Well, there is Fatima Oadu in the red vest, hoping to win the Spanish championship today, but she's got quite a few athletes around her. I think that includes Meritxell Soler, another Spanish athlete with the best time of 2:26.37. So, as I mentioned, 3 Spanish athletes very close, and it seems as though they are in that third group, a little way behind this group, which is the leading group of around 5 or 6 athletes there. Number 40, Silas Kipkoech, the male pacemaker, right at the front of the women's race. We'll see if we can pick out a few more names. We know that Antonina Kwambai is there from Kenya, the Ethiopian Fantu Zaudi. She's wearing number 306.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk, wasn't there, about the Spanish National Championships as the personal best rolling on the screen there. The French athlete, 2:26.58. And operating inside that pace at the moment. But yeah, big interest, isn't there, this being the Spanish National Championships, and obviously their trials for the Paris Olympic Games. And just a reminder that a 2:09.40 for men and 2:28 women's winning time in the Spanish Championships today could be good enough, ignoring those Olympic standards. But those fast times have already been set in Valencia earlier this year as well, or end of last year, I should say, but early in this Olympic qualifying window. So yeah, there's still a lot to play for, but real excitement, and probably unknown in that women's championships as well, of what could happen today.
We're about 2 months away from the end of the window for getting the Olympic time. Got some very big marathons coming up in the coming weeks. Tokyo in 2 weeks' time, Barcelona the week after that, and then we move into the season in April with marathons like Paris, Boston and London, and it's right at the end of April that the window closes, so it will be over the next 2 months that the athletes will be chasing those times and trying to get impress their selectors for Olympic selection. Here we are back at the front of the race We've still got about 10 athletes, I think, following our 2 pacemakers. Amduini in the orange vest, Gadisu Bahanu in the white vest. The Eritrean taller athletes at the back of that group, Okubai, Sagai, and there the other Ethiopian, Deresa Galleta, in the blue and white vest, now tucking in immediately behind the 2 pacemakers. We were talking with the race director yesterday, and he said he'd heard very good things from Galleta's manager, Hussein Maki, and coach Haji Ajilo. So Deresa Galleta in a very, very strong training group with Haji, Lalita Desisa, Chalu Deso.
Yeah, that's a very strong group, and obviously a coach who knows how to prepare athletes for very fast marathon running. And they train obviously at high altitude, and there's a great balance and the work that needs to go in to rest and recovery. As the split on the screen there, you can see the 20-kilometer split for women. So 2 minutes outside course record pace. So we did expect that, given that it has marginally been slightly slower per 5K split, but 67.44. But they are maintaining their own pace. This is going to be a really good race, and we know we do talk a lot about times and chasing times, but it still is about quality racing, and this really will be that as the race develops. So 21 kilometers, so they will see just a few meters up the road the halfway split, the halfway arch. So they're going to be just outside 71.5 minutes, or they're just inside that, I should say. Just came a fraction before that, so operating at just inside 2:22.30 pace, Richard.
Yeah, I guess one of the things we should say is that making the selection for the Kenyan or Ethiopian team, both men and women, is so hard that some of the athletes here today, regardless of how strong they are, I think that Olympic selection might be beyond them, and maybe in the women's race. I mean, we keep talking about Olympic selection, but it's probably more important for some of these athletes to really make a name for themselves, run well, get on the podium, and then get an invitation for maybe a World Marathon Major later this year. One of the Kenyan athletes in that group there, Magdalena Masai, got a best time of 2:22.16, has won 2 marathons in Toronto 4 years ago, and actually last year in Vienna she won Vienna in 2:24, so she's right at the front of that group, wearing 3:02, Magdalene Masai. But there's about 5 athletes or 6 athletes there behind the pacemaker. There's Gadisu Bahani, who's always been up there at the front of the men's race, just behind his compatriot Deresa Galleta. So
Bahanu comes in with, didn't run that great, did he, in December? A 2:14 in China, but he is defending champion, whether he's using that as part of his build-up. So it is, as I said, fascinating to see the different types of build-up and the almost lack of races. And sometimes they do go out and race, but it's not to their full capacity.
Well, we haven't talked much about the men's race for the Spanish Championship, and this is Chakib Lagar, Spaniard, went through halfway in 62.41, so
wow,
national record for Spain. Well, we saw the national record being set in Valencia 2 months ago. Tareku Navales ran 2:05.48. He's actually here in Sevilla, but only as a spectator. Is sitting out this one, hoping that his time, that new Spanish national record that he set, will be enough to get in the Olympic selection. But Chaki Lajar.
Yeah, so Ladisham, who did hold the national record, didn't he, from here a couple of years ago, 2022, that 2:06.25 has gone through halfway, and he's gone through in 63.15. So he'll be chasing the athlete on our screen there. This is going to be fascinating in the Spanish Championships, as we've got athletes running very quick in the early stages.
Yeah, I think one thing you'd have to say about Landerson is he's got a lot of experience now.
43, isn't he, Richard?
43 years old, 5th in the Olympic Games 3 years ago, and actually set a national record 2 years ago in Seville, which has since been surpassed. Well, look at what we're seeing now. This is Teresa Galleta, who is really striding out and breaking clear of the others. I just wonder whether the pacemakers are still there.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Richard. I'm looking for the pacers, and whether they are still there and running at their pace, or whether that is the chase group, or whether it has splintered. So yeah, trying to get confirmation of that. Whether Galatano was off the back of that group, and he's now a chaser. Galleta there. We'll wait to see if he is at the front. So that 2:05.51 from Dubai last year.
Well, I think he is out on his own. I think it's a very bold move. They've just gone through 25k. This is going to be a very long run for home. Well, he's certainly picked up the pace, getting instructions from somebody on the motorbike. I presume that's one of the organisers, but he is about 20-30 metres up the road from a group of 5 athletes, but he's really splintered this group. Here are the 2 white-vested athletes, the Eritrean Okubai Segai, and just in front of him Gadisu Bahanu, who for so much of the first half of the race was right at the front, just behind the 2 pacemakers. Well, both pacemakers dropped out, I think, at that 25-kilometre point, and Teresa Galleta has got a very long run for home, if that's indeed what he's planning to do. Just behind him, that group of 5 athletes includes the Israeli athlete Gashau Ayelli and the French athlete Morhad Amduini. This is the other Ethiopian, Limanech Getachew. So I think he's now in 7th place. Those are the first 7 athletes, and Teresa looks as though he's settled down, still looks quite relaxed. There we have the 25-kilometre split, 73.29, so still operating considerably under course record pace, 38 seconds under course record pace as they went through 25 kilometres.
Yeah, interesting, as you said, those paces were expected to get to 30 kilometres, but it could be the early stages, that early pace has put paid to them going as far as the organisers anticipated. But just look at that leg cadence, look at the pace that's being set, and the pace up front is very, very quick, a little bit more controlled in the elite women's race.
Well, as you said, James, they went through in around, I think, 1:11:30, so just under the 2:23. So as you say, a bit more measured. The Kenyan athlete Kwambai is still there, as well as Magdalena Masai. So at least two Kenyans there. And Ethiopian Fantu Zaudi is there. And this is a bit further back. There's another of the pacemakers. So Helalia Johannes, she's well outside her country's national record, but Rosa Chacha from Ecuador is just inside the Ecuadorian national record, 2:26:34, and as is Florencia Borelli, the Argentinian athlete. There's Magdalena Masai, personal best 2:22:16 from 5 years ago, but probably more importantly, she's got 2 marathon wins behind her from the 6 marathons that she won. Most recently, she won in Vienna last April when she ran 2:24:12. And there's the Argentinian athlete, Florencia Borelli.
Yeah, and Borelli's national record there, 2:26:54 from 2 years ago, I should say. So she knows the course very well. Just a little check of the watch. Just a little bit under pressure there. Doesn't look quite as relaxed as at the front.
Yes, that's Magdalena Masai. She looks pretty relaxed. Just still following the pacemaker.
So Masai there looking very controlled on the inside line. The that halfway split reminder, 71:22. That's a good shot, side-on shot, and a little look at the technique and the sound and noise of those carbon and foam shoes on the ground, and you can hear the shouts on the side. Just to give an update to our leader out there, 1 hour and 22 minutes of running in the Zurich Seville Marathon 2024 as they pass 28 kilometers, Richard.
Yeah, and that group, the chasing group behind him, is split up. It looks like it's the French athlete, Morhad Amduini, who's broken clear of that group of 5 athletes, and he's the one who's giving chase to the Ethiopian Deresa Galleta at the front. So now we've got 3 athletes who are detached from any group. There's the Namibian athlete, Daniel Paulus, who we said has, I mean, his best time, 2:08:40. Well, he's operating at a much faster pace today. Deresa Galleta is just trying to settle into a pace that he can maintain, but he is really being chased down now by the French athlete, Amduini, 36 years of age, Amduini. And there's Yamani Berhan Kripa running his 2nd marathon here in Seville. His personal best set in Milan in his debut last May, hoping to improve on that time, 2:08:57. Well, there we get a good sense of how this group has really splintered just in the last 10 minutes.
And Amduini is coming back, isn't he? The Frenchman is closing that gap. He's looking very, very strong in that orange singlet, orange shoes, and the athlete that made a big great. It seems to be closed down now, the Ethiopian, with the Frenchman in his sights. And the race is on. Look at this, there are gaps between each of the places. There's our leading Spanish athlete.
Well, Chakib 2:11.11. Well, we said he went through halfway in under 63 minutes, and that's why they were showing he's under the national record set by Navales in Valencia. Well, good for him that he's actually now on the back of a group. I think that second group is being led by Douglas Chevy at that 2:06 pace, so be interesting to see whether Chakib can stay with that group. But James, you mentioned the more experienced runner Ayad Lamderson also running today, hoping to win the national marathon title and get the automatic place that's on offer for the first Spanish athlete in both men and women's races with the qualifying time set by the Spanish Federation. So here we have, right at the front of the race, Galleta being overtaken, or at least caught, by Amduini, and being actually encouraged by the motorbike rider to run together. If they can run together, there's probably more chance of them maintaining this very, very fast pace. Amduini, remember, started out as a track runner, won the European 10,000 metre championship in Munich 6 years ago, and then has moved up since then to the marathon.
Yeah, he's got good pedigree, isn't he, over a number of different distances. So sub 60 minutes half marathon, very, very strong runner. And you saw that little interaction between them, and I think they would welcome a little bit of help between themselves rather than to go solo, because they're still not up to 90 minutes of running yet. So there's still lots of kilometres here on the streets of Seville. Welcome if you're joining us this morning, or wherever you are, time zones around the world, around Europe. We're delighted you've joined us for the Zurich-Seville Marathon 2024, known as Europe's flattest marathon, one of the fastest marathons in Europe and the world. So the race is going from strength to strength. 12,000 runners sold out this year again, and it's 47% internationals that travel here. Very accessible city, beautiful city, and you're welcome in February by almost ideal marathon conditions, and the masses you can see of club runners that are out there also looking for fast times. And you can see tucked right in that group, there we go, 25 kilometers for our elite women, 1:24.40. So that course record, we can almost forget that now. So 1:22.11 was course record pace through 25 kilometers, so that has gone. But it is a race now, and there are a number of athletes looking very good. Good to see that they've got their own drinks bottles. Remember, they're every 5 kilometers, each with a different kind of makeup of carbohydrates and fluids within them. Some have energy gels attached to them as well, but it's so important to take those on for as long as possible.
Yeah, on the left of the screen are the leaders in the women's race. On the right of the screen is the chasing group, including the top Spanish athlete Fatima Aoudu. And as you can see, they've also got a pacemaker, Abdelali Razin, who was asked to take them through halfway in 71 minutes. Well, as we've seen, the women's race certainly not as fast as the men's race, who are still under course record pace.
Yeah, the next split that will be coming up very shortly, that 30 kilometers, and that's going to be interesting to see if they have maintained that pace, being that the paces have gone and it is now a race, and you can see them already starting to take chunks out of each other. There's the elite women on the back of these very good standard athletes running around about the 2:22 mark, so you can just see the depth Gary Hanlon there, the Irish Masters athlete at the front of that group. So a little look of the pacer as the athletes are still tucked away in that group. So they're coming towards the 90-minute mark of running.
The two leaders side by side. I think Galleta looks as though he's momentarily recovered, and there they've gone through 30 kilometers, still very, very fast, 52 seconds under course record pace. So at the moment, if they can keep this going, they're going to finish under 2:04. Remember, the course record 2:04.43 set here 2 years ago. They're operating at around 2:03.30 pace. And now that the two of them are together, maybe they can help each other. That's certainly what the encouragement is saying to them from the side of the race on the motorbike. If they can keep going together, push each other towards a fast time. And just a bit further down the road there is the Israeli athlete Gashau Ayelli. These are the third and fourth place athletes.
Well, going back, that European marathon record, Bashir Abdi's record, 2:03.36. So could he get towards that European record? And that will be something the organisers absolutely love. There's a great sight there of the orange trees that line the streets here of Seville. And there you go, already passing 31 kilometres. So next kilometre will be kind of significant, because that will signal, you know, a 10-kilometre push towards that finish.
Well, James, this is the really difficult part of the course, because not only have they gone through 30 kilometres, but they are coming down a stretch of road past the St. Baptiste Stadium, which we can see in the background, and in a few seconds they're going to actually see the finish line. And that's the strange thing, is that this piece of tarmac actually takes them right past the side of the finish straight, and then they have to branch off towards the Plaza de España. And there's the Eyob Faniel, the Italian
look how
athlete.
much he's inside his own national record set here a couple of years ago, and look at that, 1:20.06, and Cripper a little few minutes down the road behind him. So this is very fast running by the Italian athlete there, wearing the vest with the I think that's the police, isn't it, that sponsor or look after the many of the the Italian athletes here. And as he's on the streets of Spain in Seville, running very, very fast, as our two leaders are on the screen now.
So we've got an Ethiopian at the front, Dereza Galleta, and we've got a Moroccan-born French athlete, Morhad Amduini, in second place. We've got a Eritrean-born Italian athlete, Eyob Faniel, in third place, and we've got a Ethiopian-born Israeli athlete, Gashau Ayelli, in fourth place. Those are the leading four athletes as they come back west, down, back towards, it's going to bring them back down towards the Plaza de España. And then they've got their final 10 kilometres, and the final 10 kilometres of this course route is where they'll find the highest density of spectators, because they're going to go out west down towards La Macarena, a very famous district in Sevilla, made famous by the tapas, and then they're going to come back past the famous cathedral and La Giralda, which they passed at around 40 kilometres. So just over 10 kilometres left. These are the third and fourth place athletes, and it's now the Israeli athlete Gashau Ayelli just overtaken Eyob Daniel.
So confirmation through 30 kilometres. Johnny Mellor is right in that Olympic group as well. 1:30.55, so maintaining the pace. Phil Sesman right in that group as well. Darry Griffiths running very, very well. So There's some quick times in that Olympic chase group maintaining their pace at the moment. The around about 15:10 per kilometre as per 5k split, so around about 301, 302 kilometres split. So at the moment, some very quick times by the British contingent out there at the moment. But again, still a lot of tarmac, as Richard says, a bit of psychological warfare going on as you go past the finish. You can see the finish, but you've got to go back out again. That's never easy on a Sunday run when you come past your or near your front door, whether you've got to head out again for another few kilometres. So there's our leading women on the screen, and their next important time will be that 30-kilometre split as well, and they're still 5 or 6 in that leading group.
There's their pacemaker, Silas Kipkoech, number 40, and that's Fantu Zaudu, 3:06. That's the Ethiopian athlete, best time of 2:25.45. But James, yeah, as you say, I think there's about 4 or 5 athletes there. 4 or 5 females, sorry, just behind the Kenyan pacemaker at the front of the women's race. Yeah, just going back to the British athletes, as you said, James, Phil Sessamon, Johnny Mellor going through in 1:30.55 through the 30-kilometre point. That is bang on 2:07.30. So Phil and Johnny having a great race so far. Phil said to us yesterday he'd rather be a little bit ahead of schedule of the Olympic qualifying time as he comes towards the final 5 kilometres, and that's exactly where he's heading. Both of them running incredibly well.
As in these two on the screen in front of us. So and we're chasing at the moment maybe a European record as well. Amduini there, the Frenchman on the left-hand side, or he was on the left, he's now switching. A little bit of tactics as they go through that slight cobbled section. And Galleta there, the leader. He was the first aggressor as they passed 33 kilometres. He was the first to really kind of throw his cards down onto the table. And he got closed down, but he's not afraid to go back to the front again. So really no form and very little racing, so it's just fascinating again. He obviously's put some really good training in to come here with the confidence to push on. You can see the gap behind as the chasing group or the chasing duo go through. I think around about 20 seconds behind, Richard.
And this is the famous Plaza de España. They're actually going to do a sort of extra loop just to take in, at least for us, the viewers, the beauty of this part of the city, right in the centre of the city, which is where we were yesterday just watching the end of the 5-kilometre breakfast run. So we're at about the 33-kilometre point. As we've been saying all day, a very, very fast course, very little elevation to talk about. What they say, it's the fastest and flattest course in Europe. This spectacular arena, Plaza de España. Here's the loop that they do.
That's stunning, isn't it, Richard? Look at that. There's
Max altitude reached.
A lot of history here, and very, very busy yesterday with lots of tourists out, lots of people on the little gondola boats going around that little bit of water you can see in front, but that is absolutely spectacular. And great noise and great sounds, but they can hear and almost sense that end part of the race, but still lots of kilometres and that fatigue will now be starting to be felt from that aggressive early pace. The loop is completed. A bit of confetti being thrown on the runners there. So it is a bit of a party-like atmosphere here in Seville on this beautiful February morning. And at the moment, the organisers will be delighted. 2 athletes are heading way inside course record pace as we come up to an hour and 40 minutes of running. And I tell you what, at the moment, we're operating towards European record pace.
Well, the Italian athlete Eob Daniel now in 4th place, losing a little bit of ground to Gashau Ayelli, the Israeli athlete, who's now maybe 20-25 meters up the road as they head out of the Plaza de España. But the front 2, Galleta and Amduini, seem to be still full of running.
They do, and again, some great aerial shots, and I think that could be the one of the chase groups behind, whether that's the Olympic group, just trying to
max altitude reached.
Make out some of the runners there, and look at that, that is absolutely spectacular. And the burial place of Christopher Columbus and the history, and just look at that. There's a real kind of concerted effort to not spoil the skyline here in Seville. There's only one skyscraper in the whole of the city, so and they also make sure that they maximise the sun. Only 80 days of rain a year, so much of the city's electricity comes from solar power, and the city itself is very, very clean. And they love their sport, love their physical activity, and given the nice weather, given the beautiful parks as well, we had some good chats with various people that kept telling us where to run yesterday, Richard. We ran from the hotel where we were staying to the technical meeting where the elites were staying, and there were a few more parks we could have ventured out for, weren't there?
It's a beautiful city, you have to say. That seems as though it's got everything. It's got these very famous monuments, it's got its history going back to Roman times. We were walking around yesterday seeing castles, we were seeing ruins, and then we were seeing the famous monuments around the Cathedral Giralda. It used to be, of course, the capital of Muslim Spain for 5 centuries, from the 7th to the 12th century, and then became more of a Christian base when Ferdinand kicked out the Muslims in the 12th century. So it's got history, and then now it's got its modern buildings and parts of town. So a very, very attractive city to visit, and I'm sure a nice city to live in. Well, Teresa Galleta gone through 35 kilometres, and he looks as though he's got his rhythm back, and it looks as though he might even be trying to drop the French athlete on his shoulder. This is the 3rd place athlete. Well, look at this, Ayelli. 1 minute and 10 seconds under his own national record at the 30-kilometre point. Having a look at his watch. Course record, sorry, the national record he set here in Seville exactly a year ago when he finished 4th, 2:05.33. Well, Ayelli is in 3rd place. I don't think he'll have sight of the front 2 athletes who we're seeing now on our screen, the Ethiopian Galleta and the orange-vested French athlete Amduini. They are still running incredibly fast, 48 seconds under course record pace, with just over 7 kilometres to run. There we can see they are maintaining that very, very fast pace, 42 seconds under the course record at halfway, and they're now 48 seconds under the course record pace. Remember, the course record set here 2 years ago, 2 hours, 4 minutes and 43 seconds. by Azra Abdirahman, who started to drop back just short of the halfway point. Well, we were hearing from the race director yesterday that Galleta was in great shape. He'd heard that from his management team, and he's proving just that. Well, look how well Ayelli is running, still looking very smooth at the 35-kilometre point, on course for a national record. He seems to be clear in third place, but still some way back from our leading two athletes.
Just maybe the slightest of grimaces on Amduini's face, the Frenchman who made that concerted effort to get back in contention. The Galleta, and they're back to the elite women. And there you go, up onto the screen. Their 30 kilometers is 1:41.29. And almost a bit of a smile between a couple of the athletes. They still look very controlled, don't they, Richard?
Well, we've got two Ethiopians in that group, Asmera Gabru and Fantu Zaudi. We've got a Bahraini athlete, Dalila Abdul Qadir Gosa. She's wearing 3:05. See if we can spot one of the Kenyan athletes.
And that's the chase group behind, isn't it? I think that's a second pacing group. And whether they're closing that gap, the leaders are operating at around about that 2:20, 2:30 mark still. So operating consistently 3:22, 3:23 per kilometre. And a great split screen there, and again just confirmation of that course record 30-kilometre split and the current split today. So 3 minutes outside that. So we know the course record isn't being broken today, but what it is going to be a very good race into the last few miles, last few kilometres here in Seville.
Yeah, it's a very close race, certainly in the women's race. There is Gabru, that's in the white vest, 3:01. Abdul Qadir, the Bahraini athlete, just behind Gabru in the white and green, Dalila Abdul Qadir.
So Galleta at the front, eyes fixed on the prize, pushing the pace. And look at that grimace behind, almost a chatting of the teeth. And Amduini there, you can see the pain, can't you, Richard? What's it like when you get to that part of the marathon, a 2:08 marathon running yourself, and when it starts to really, really dig in? What are you thinking at this point?
Well, I think for Amduini, you're absolutely right. He is just digging in and just grimacing and just trying to hold on, because in some ways it's going to be more painful for him if he gets dropped by Galleta, so he's just trying to hang on for as long as he can. Of course, we don't really know how much the leader Galleta's got left, but if Amduini can just stay on the Ethiopian shoulder for as long as possible, he might have a chance of overhauling him. But it definitely looks as though the Ethiopian Galleta is now in the driving seat, just by the look of pain and strain, as you say, James. But they're still together, and they've got about 5 kilometers to run, I think. We're really into the final 15 minutes of this race.
They are, and it's probably about gritting out a few kilometers and breaking it down mentally. The different training sessions that will go over multiple of distances, kilometers, some short, some long in distance of sessions, and look at that, the national records. So potentials for French, Italian and Israeli national records. Look at that. Well, Fanal and Amduini are the athletes that are potentially going to smash their own national records. Interestingly, all 3 of them hold those national records themselves. So can they lower them even further here in Seville this morning?
Well, Deresa Galleta, the Ethiopian in the white and blue vest, definitely looks as though he's trying to break the Frenchman. Looking at his watch, probably just checking how far it is to go. I mean, I think they're through 38 kilometers, or very near that point, as they come past the old fortifications, which is going to bring them back towards the city cathedral and the Giralda, which was once the site of the famous mosque here over 15 centuries ago. So Deresa Galleta in the white and blue vest of Ethiopia, trying to drop Amduini in the orange vest. Amduini, can he set a new French record here? 2:05.22, his own national record. And look, there is the first sign that Galleta is the stronger athlete. He's opened up 1 or 2 meters. Amduini trying to come back to him. And the Mongolian national record under threat today. Lamderson, it appears from our screen as though Lamderson might have moved into pole position for the Spanish national title here today. Here's the 3rd place athlete, Gashau Ayelli, running for Israel. 4th place here last year. Well, he's in 3rd today as they go into the final 5 kilometers.
Ayelli looks good, doesn't he? So, and whether he can chase down, look at that, I can't see him in sight. So Galleta looks very controlled, very compact arm action. And as we come to 1 hour and 53 minutes almost on the race clock, just taking one of the left-hand turns. Only around about 30 turns on the course, so limited, some long straights. That can be really beneficial to some runners. Some runners like a little bit of twist and turn sometimes. As our lead women are looking now. Someone's got to break patience-wise, you've got to say, as they go again through this beautiful loop part of the course and under one of the sponsors' banners. The different points out on the course that the runners would have walked past, or they would have known were coming, as significant landmarks on the course, breaking down the distance. And the longer it goes in this elite women's race, the more you think that someone might have to show their cards, someone might have to push the pace on over this last 10 kilometers, because you know, it would be significant for someone to win this race career-wise and also financially as well, given that you don't have too many opportunities per year to put down either a fast marathon or a big marathon performance. So that's why they're going to want to maximize the training that goes in, the months of training that goes in to a marathon block, and get the desired outcome that they wished for.
Well, that leading group of women we can see going round the Plaza de España. There's still, I think, 3 or 4 athletes together. Pacemaker still there at the front of that group. Silas Kipkoech, Mitai. Yeah, they're heading for a time of around 2:22. Remember the course record set here by Magetu 2 years ago, 2:18.53, and they're about 3 minutes outside that. There's a second group of women. I wonder if that's got the some of the leading Spanish women. Remember, we were saying it's a very tight battle between the Spanish female athletes today.
Max altitude reached.
Fatima Ayudu, probably the favourite to win the national title here, but she's up against Meritxell Soler and Maria Jose Perez, who have both run under the Olympic qualifying time. Well, here at the front of the race, Teresa Galleta is slowly extending that lead. It's about 15 metres, 20 metres. This is what I mean by the famous parts of the city now where the roads become much narrower. This is part of the city known as La Macarena. Attracts a lot of tourists. Reference also to the possibility of a new Namibian national record. Daniel Paulus well inside his own national record. Well, 2:08.40. And here's another athlete chasing a national record, his own national record, Gashau Ayelli in third place. But at the front of the race, well, this is becoming a very significant lead now. Teresa Galleta, he's in great form. We heard he was in great form from the race director who'd been speaking with his management team. And he's opening up now 40-50 metres.
He looks really good, doesn't he? So this is just one of the cobbled sections on the course that a few people had mentioned to us. I'm sure if you're tired at this point or you're having a bit of a bad patch, it would feel a lot worse. But Galleta looks absolutely phenomenal through this section. So I'm sure he'll be trying to glimpse a reflection on the shop windows to see what the gap's like behind. Ayelli, the Ethiopian national record holder, with the arm sleeves on. He's moving very well in the latter stages as well, so trying to chase down Amduini, the French national record holder, trying to break his own national record. So we'll try and get confirmation. I think that was 20 kilometres, I think, past. And I think
40 kilometres.
Sorry, 40 kilometres, sorry, times by 2. Sorry, I was looking at the list in front of me to see where they were, and yeah, 40 kilometres, and he's a shade outside 1 hour 57, which means he is operating still at that 2 hours 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So at the moment, with what is it, 2.2 kilometres of fast running to go, he's going to absolutely smash the course record here.
Yeah, Galleta won his last marathon in Beijing just over 3 months ago, ran 2:07.41, and at the start of 2023 finished second in Dubai, so really coming into some great form. And look at that, wow, he's going to really smash the course record through 40 kilometres in 1:57.03, 1 minute and 40 seconds ahead of the course record. Remember, the course record set here 2 years ago by his countryman Asra Abdirahman, 2:04.43. This is the cathedral, the beautiful cathedral, the second biggest cathedral in Europe behind St. Peter's in the Vatican. And as you say, James, less than 2,000 metres of running. Galleta,
wow.
Really...
It's just impressing us, isn't he, Richard? I mean, the early aggressor in the race, once the pacemakers dropped out, almost wonder whether he almost caused the pacemakers to drop out, because once someone wants to go, and that was around about the 25-kilometre mark, that he really did ask the questions. And look at that. That gap is growing with every single foot strike. So still lots of shaded areas here on the course in Seville, into the later stages of the race, coming almost towards the 2 hours of running. And you said he was someone to look out for. He was someone that put a really good block of training in. And I tell you what, this last couple of kilometres, he can almost enjoy it with the gap just opening up. And phenomenal bit of running as the elite women on the right-hand side of your screen, they're coming towards the 2 hour mark of racing. So they're 20-odd minutes away from being in the same position as Galleta, the Ethiopian athlete that's leading in the men's, but the elite women now looks like it's down to 3.
So I think that's Magdalena Masai, the Kenyan athlete, one of the favoured athletes, and the Ethiopian Asmera Gabru.
Yeah, no, Kiprowicz is the other athlete in there as well. So Josephine is the third of those athletes touching that group. So as they went through 35 kilometres, and Gosser could also be there as well. So looks like maybe 4 athletes in that elite women's race as they pass 35 kilometres.
Well, at the front of the race, Galleta just having to check himself, taking one of the final turns. There's Amduini, also running very, very strongly, and also possibly heading for a new national French record. But at the front of the race, Teresa still looking really strong, striding out, extending his lead into the final few minutes of the race. He's going to come back down onto the Paseo de las Delicias in a few meters' time, and then take that left turn, which will bring him into the finish straight with just over 400 meters to run. There we can see the clock, and there are our first 2 athletes. We're going to keep an eye on the clock, well inside the course record pace.
Yeah, the course record stands at 2 hours, 4 minutes and 43 seconds. But at the moment, that is on very, very limited and borrowed time. As Galleta, the leader, out on the streets of Seville this morning. You can see a little bit of pain on his face, but that's because he is operating way inside his own personal best pace, operating way inside course record pace. And he's going to put down some very impressive figures here in Seville this morning. So he's into the latter stages now. It's going to be the fastest time in the world for 2024, with some fast marathons to come as well. It's going to be one to be put out there to be chased.
Into the finishing straight. And I think the athlete himself really doesn't know where the finish line is. There's so many of these arches that he's passing through, but he's got about 300 meters to run. Didn't quite know. I hope he's going to get the finishing line right. The finishing line right. He is, because he's just got a few hundred meters to go. Coming down. There's the finish tape. Now he knows he's won, and he smashed the course record. Teresa Galleta becomes the new Seville Marathon champion in a stunning time.
Oh, a brilliant time, brilliant run, and just a fraction outside the European record. Amduini there, the Frenchman, but it's a new national French record by around about 90 seconds. He gave the European record a scare, and he gave almost Galleta a scare as well when he caught him. They had a bit of interaction, but Deresa Galleta from Ethiopia is the new Zurich Seville marathon champion and course record holder.
And the first time in the history of this marathon that two athletes have run under 2 hours and 4 minutes. So some really stunning performances from the first two athletes. There's the winner, course record, Deresa Galleta of Ethiopia,
holding aloft the signage. As there's a real battle for the podium, isn't there?
And it's going to be the Israeli athlete Gashau Ayelli takes the third spot, and for the third place athlete another national record and personal best, going almost a minute under his existing best. Remember, finished fourth here last year, gone one better this year, third place, as you say, James, podium finish for Ayelli. All three athletes. Oh, and look at this. This is the Italian athlete Yamani Crippa. Yamani behind Crippa is going to break the Italian national record and smash his own personal best. There's Abel Anton giving congratulations to Amduini. But what a time now for Yamani behind Crippa. Is going to set a new Italian national record, finishing very, very strongly.
He is, he's running very well. Fennell, I don't think, came through on the results in front of us, so he was there or thereabouts, the other Italian out on the course. So Crippa, if that is confirmed, is a new Italian record, because Fennell was out there, wasn't he, for so much of it, and I didn't see him drop off. But Crippa had been running around about the 3 minute per kilometre throughout the whole race. Now the time check is on, isn't it, for those Olympic qualifications. We've got just under 2 minutes to see who can get inside that 2:8:10 clock in, but also who is going to be the first of our Spanish finishers today, who's going to take the national title for Spain.
Lots of personal bests being set. There we've got our first two, and there is Crippa being congratulated, and no wonder, as his manager Di Madonna said yesterday, an athlete who can run 27:10 for 10,000 metres and 59:26 for the half marathon. There's the second Italian, Eyob Daniel, so fading. Remember, he was in fourth place at the 30-kilometre point, being congratulated by Crippa, but it's Crippa.
Yeah, he was inside his own national record, you're right. It's Crippa, though, who came through, who paced it better. He said he was going to take on less fluids, and there was a little bit of a worry about that, but I tell you what, it's come really well today. Look at that, 2:07:34. Some people celebrating, they know they've got inside that Olympic qualifying. We're going to keep an eye, hopefully, on that finishing line to see whether there's any of the British contingent inside that time. Oh, there's some delight, look at that, the emotions. Trying to see who that is as they're rolling around on the floor.
That's the Spanish athlete,
yes.
Chakib, Ibrahim Chakib.
Oh, Phil Sesman, I think Phil Sesman got inside it. There's
yes.
Phil Sesman.
Brilliant run for Phil Sesman.
Look at that, Phil Sesman, what a run. Inside 2:8:10. We'll wait for official confirmation of that. Big, big run. Wow. And there's obviously going to be some disappointment as well for some runners as they come down this finishing straight and they see the time has clocked over. Oh, look at that, the 2 hours and 8 minutes and 10 seconds that they wanted, but there's still going to be some massive lifetime bests. See Johnny Mellor there, I think, coming into sight just behind, so he's going to be just outside 2 hours and 9 minutes.
But a new personal best for him.
A massive lifetime best, and yeah, Johnny, one of the hardest working runners out there. Works full time, he's got a young family, and look at the delights. Oh wow, I think that is the Spanish national champion there, and what a run. And look at the sheer numbers. I think inside 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I think that was the Mongolian athlete finishing in a new national, well, maybe just outside Batuchir's national record, but under 2 hours and 10 minutes. So the look of delight on so many athletes as they come across. There's Lamderson.
Oh, he struggled, isn't he, in the latter stages.
So I had Lamderson hoping to make another Olympic team, but I think he struggled over the final few kilometres. And there is Gadisa Bahanu. Remember, we saw him right at the front, but the delight is on the face of Ibrahim Chakir, who's not only won the national title here today, but it looks as though he has secured a place on the national team for the Olympic Games. Remember, the first place Spaniard with the federation time 2:09:40 automatically gets his place, and it's Chakir who has done that today.
Yeah, that's an absolutely massive run, and you can just see the emotions there that you know, have absorbed him at the end. So much hard training, and for it to pay off today and book his place for Paris. 2 hours, 10 minutes and 51 seconds. Look at the depth here of athletes still coming down towards that finishing line. Very, very fast running all round.
There's another Spaniard, George Blanco.
Yeah, Blanco's last time back 2:11:34. I think he's going to be inside that. So real depth in this Spanish National Championships. And the fatigue has been overcome by some by absolute sheer delight. Is that the course record holder into the home straight, or defending champion? Yeah,
Azra Abdirahman.
Abdirahman there, he struggled, but hats off to him. He's completed the distance, and
I think that's the Polish athlete Adam Nowicki. He ran 2:09:48 last year, so a couple of minutes outside that.
Roy Linlecker, the American 2:08 flat. Wow, so not many Americans here, given their American trials were just a few weeks ago. So there, Darry Griffiths, the Welshman, who's going to cross the line around about 2 hours and 12 minutes. So not a lifetime best for Darry, but still a return to form. Went with that Olympic qualifying group and just paid at the very end.
Well, the male pacemaker, Silas Kipkoech-Mitay, is still right at the front of the women's race, leading the first athlete, and I think that is Azmaeru Gabru. That's right, ASIC's athlete, returning to great form. She's run 6 marathons, started out as a track runner, actually won the African Junior Championship 3,000 metres 13 years ago, and over the last 5 years has really made a name for herself as a marathon runner. Started out with some really good runs in Amsterdam in 2018 and 2019, finished second in Paris in the 2019 marathon, and she's come here today And it looks as though she has got a good lead now, with the Pacemaker leading up into the final 2 or 3 kilometres of this race.
Yeah, running very well, and the Pacemaker has been there for all of the kilometres so far, and whether the chase group can close it down, it's going to be really interesting. So 2 hours 14 minutes, so we're looking, I think, for that 40-kilometre split, and that will signal around about 7 minutes left of running. Look at that, that gap is starting to close, isn't it? I don't know whether they're aware that they're being chased down, but yeah, that gap, I think, is around about 10-15 seconds.
Yeah, it's just under 100 metres, I think. The advantage that Gabru's got as they go into this final section through La Macarena towards the cathedral is that she still has got the Pacemaker who is towing her along. This is the Kenyan Kipkoech.
Yeah, Gabru looks good there. The Pacemaker just signifying a little bit of relaxation almost, and this is where pace is going quite far into elite women's races. You know, it's very interesting to see how far they do go. Some go all the way almost to the finishing line and beyond, but it's how much it becomes a pace bit of running as opposed to a race, but whether the athletes who don't have paces behind can close the gap down. So it's going to be very interesting in the last couple of kilometres. So there is the chaser behind, wearing 4:40. So on the list in front. So Masai, I think, was the athlete that's been passed. So the chaser, that's, yeah, Kipkoech, Josephine Kipkoech, who was chasing. She's been consistently there, and wearing the kind of salmon or pink coloured top that is currently in second. The Kenyan athlete who's trying to chase down for the win here. But if she's going to do that, she's got to close down around about 10 or 15 seconds. Gabru is our leader into the latter stages of the Zurich Seville Marathon. As the last drink station, oh, just almost a faint attempt there at grabbing a bottle, with just a couple of minutes, or a couple of kilometres, I should say, left of running.
Yeah, I think that's right. This is the 40-kilometre point, final drink station past the cathedral, and Gabru looks as though she's got a big enough margin over Kipkoech in second place, with the Pacemaker towing her along. The pace has definitely picked up in this women's race. Remember, they were some way off course record pace, running quite conservatively through the first 30 kilometres, and it's since then that leading group of 5 or 6 athletes has split up, and it's the Ethiopian Asmeru Gabru heading for what would be her first victory. She's run 6 marathons already, and this will be a big day for her, big win for her here in Seville.
It would, and a good side-on shot, and you can still see her cadence, the ground contact. She still looks very relaxed. There is something about the technique and form of Ethiopian distance runners. They spend a lot of time, Richard, don't they, working on different types of drills, and their mass warm-ups are a sensation on the internet. As the chase behind, a slightly different running style, but still looks like she's moving well off the ground. That is the Kenyan athlete, Josephine Kipkoech, who's trying to close that gap. From Asmeru Gabru, who's the leader. And look at that. That is relaxation and poetry in motion, as the Pacemaker still at the fore. But is there a dramatic twist here in the very late stages of the Seville Marathon 2024?
Yeah, we were in touch with her manager yesterday, Malcolm Anderson, and he was speaking very hopefully about Gabru coming into this race. Obviously not really thinking about Olympic selection, given how strong Ethiopian marathon running is at the moment, with world record holder Tigist Assefa in the driving seat, alongside the reigning world champion Amani Bariso, who's going to be racing in Tokyo in 2 weeks' time. But Gabru looking to impress, and she's done exactly that here in Seville today. She is well clear of the second place Kenyan athlete Azmeru Gabru, coming down back towards the Guadalquivir River, which is where they will finish the race. They started out there just over 2 hours ago, and it's Gabru who's now striding out with about a kilometre to run. She's had a second place finish in Paris. She's had 2 third place finishes in Amsterdam in 2018 and 2019. Her last marathon was actually in Barcelona, one of the other big Spanish marathons. Remember, Spain's got 5 big marathons who have come together to form this series of what they call Las Grandes, the 5 big marathons in Spain. And here is Gabru already striding down towards the finishing straight.
And also what I love about her is longevity. She was a world bronze medalist in the World Junior Cross Country Championships back in 2011. So a former African under-20 champion over the steeplechase. And she's had successes in various marathons. And this would be one of her biggest victories, one of her most popular victories. I'm sure her training group back home will be cheering on the athlete that is going to be outside her lifetime best today. She's going to be outside the course record. But as she makes some of the last few turns of this fast course here in Seville, you see the big wheel in the background. The athletes know they are very close to the finish once they go past that point. Azmeru Gabru goes into the home straight. It's been a dominant last few kilometres. Gabru's been a force in the pace. She followed the pacer, one of the only ones to stay with the pacer throughout the later stages of the race. And she's going to see that finishing tape. They've been consistently around that 22:30 mark, but they have picked it up in the second half. So it's going to be a negative split. The champion here, the Zurich Seville Marathon champion for 2024, Azmeru Gabru, takes the title. And what a fantastic run there, Richard.
Great run for Gabru, about a minute outside her best time, but she'll be delighted to record her first big city marathon win here in Seville. Here's the second place athlete, Jocelyn Chipkoech. Great run for her. I think that's going to be her top finish. And there is Madeleine Masai taking third place and finishing the podium here in Seville. So Gabru of Ethiopia in first place, Chipkoech of Kenya in second, and Masai of Kenya in third place. That's your podium for this year's Seville Marathon.
And just look at the sheer numbers of runners crossing the line. As I think that's fourth place. That could be Gosser there crossing the finishing line. Oh, Hailu, that looks painful. There's going to be a few tired legs out there now. The masses will be following for the next few hours as the temperature will steadily rise here. It got up to 25 degrees in the afternoon yesterday, expecting similar today, but still pretty good conditions right now. as is the tape out for the champion of Spain, maybe. We expected a few more minutes.
Well, we're looking for the first Spanish athlete, and I think this is Fatima. Oh, that's Borelli, Florencia Borelli from Argentina, who has smashed her own Argentinian national record by around 2.5 minutes. But I think just behind her was Fatima Aodu, the first Spanish athlete, and she is well inside the Olympic qualifying. So, as we saw in the men's race, looks of utter delight on so many of these finishes. There's Esther Navarrete running her debut marathon.
2:24.10 has come up, so that's a fantastic piece of running. Her debut, and to debut with a 2:24, that is very, very fast running. And just looking at the times coming through, wow, there are fast times just across the board, as in there were in the men's. They're just trying to work out almost what positions they finish in the Spanish Championships as well.
Yeah, well, I think I've got to correct myself. You're right, James, because I think Esther Navarrete has taken the Spanish national title and booked her spot for Paris, running her debut here. Ran 69.58 for the half marathon in Valencia 4 months ago, and came here hoping to impress, and she's just done that. But it's going to be very interesting what the Spanish Federation do, because they've got Fatima Aodu. Here's our top 3 finishers in the Spanish national title. There's Ibrahim Chakir, a new lifetime best for him. And in second place, Ayed Lamderson.
Yeah, hard fought for title there, and very, very competitive. It was changing almost throughout.
Aproximadamente no tenemos todavía claro, pero marca personal mínima para los Juegos, campeón de España, vas a estar en París.
La verdad que sí, los sueños se hacen realidad si los trabajas y los proteges y los sigues siempre, como tú sabes. Todos los días hay difícil. Yo, bueno, llevo toda una vida luchando por esto y no sabes cuándo cae, pero si sigues y lo trabajas duro, al final salen. Y así que muy feliz, y podemos decir que podemos estar en París, así que más no se puede pedir.
Muchas gracias, Ibra, y nos vemos en Sevilla en 2025.
Sí, Sevilla tiene un color especial, y para mí cada vez que vengo aquí la verdad que me dan alegrías. Ya me dio mi primera internacionalidad el año pasado y hoy vuelvo a ser olímpico si Dios quiere aquí, así que nada, muchas gracias, Sevilla.
So that's the new national champion for the marathon, Ibrahim Chakir, running a new personal best, 2:09.16, inside the qualifying time set by his own federation for qualification for the Olympics. And so he's booked his place on the Spanish marathon team for Paris, and just saying how grateful he is to Seville. He ran here a year ago, being asked whether he'll come back in a year's time. Well, I think today his focus will be more on what's going to happen this summer, because he's going to be at his first Olympic Games representing the Spanish team. A big day for Ibrahim Chakir, the new national champion here in Seville.
And look at that on the screen, the times, the confirmation of those, and phenomenal performances, so across the board. And Linklater there, I said he was American, my apologies, Canadian obviously, and the times coming up on the board there. The performance of Phil Sisselman there, a confirmed Olympic qualifying performance, 2:08.04, as the race results for women come up onto the screen. Just quality, look at that, depth across the board, and a real battle. And there's a number of national records in both men and women's races, so phenomenal performances. And yeah, just the depth here is just something that not many marathons can compete with, can they, Richard?
It's the depth, and also, as you say, the number of personal best times being set by the world elite and by all the athletes coming in across the line now. The organisers really making a big deal of the course being the flattest marathon course in Europe, and these times are bearing that out. Here's the Olympic qualifying marks that have been set, including Phil Testament, 2:08.04, great result for him. Remember, he was just outside that Olympic qualifying standard in Valencia 2 months ago, and he has come back here, come back to Spain and got inside that mark.
So many big performances there, and you can see those inside 2:8.10, and the fact that there's so many different nationalities there, but obviously there's a few more that have run those qualifying times at other marathons, so there's going to be a few selection headaches, and the different federations, those that can select will select, and fantastic performances. So what a phenomenal day here in Seville. Competitive front running in both the elite men's and elite women's races in what is an ever popular destination here in February. The competitive nature of course records set today in the men's by Galleta, and a very, very happy few athletes with Olympic qualification today. So from myself, James Thie, joined by Richard Narurka, it's been an absolute pleasure bringing to you the Zurich Seville Marathon for 2024.